Okay, folks, so this is a basic V5 window for programming. So I'm going to come over here and I want to set up my potentiometers so that I can get their numbers to print on the top of my brain so that I know exactly where everything is. So these are 3-wire sensors, so I'm going to go to 3-wire. And the first potentiometer I have there is my black version 2 right here, and it is plugged into A. So I'm going to hit done, and then I'm going to add another device, and back to 3-wire. I have my red potentiometer in B, and I'm going to go ahead and hit done. And then I have my digital shaft encoder, which is also 3-wire, and is, where'd it go? Servos, limit switches, encoder, there it is, which are actually down here in G and H. There we go. So now that those are set, I can print my values from those on the top of my brain. This is really easy to do. All you have to do is have your brain set the column and the cursor row to 1. Then I wanted to print the name of that potentiometer or that sensor so I know what it is. So this is going to be Pot V2 for version 2. I know it's hilarious to shorten it to pot, but it's faster than typing potentiometer. So I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to pull another one of these here, and I'm going to go get the sensor from that potentiometer. So except in this case, I don't want the one in B, I want the one in A. And I don't want it as percentages, I want it in degrees. Why? Because the degrees are what I'm going to use to measure how far my arm moves. So then I'm just going to duplicate this whole set, come down here, change it to row 2, or actually we'll do row 3. We'll leave a nice space in between. And this one I'm going to call the red potentiometer, and I'm going to change this to print that. So now it's printing angles and degrees for my red one. Then I have my shaft encoder. So again, I'm going to duplicate, put this down here. Now we're going to go to row 5, and this one is going to be my encoder. And instead of this, I'm going to get rid of that and come up here. Encoder position in degrees right there, and I'm going to print it on the top of the brain. Now there's a trick to this. If I leave it exactly this way, it's only going to print the first time it runs. It's never going to print again. So I need to come get my forever block here, and really, okay, fine. Put my forever on there, and I also need a little bit of a weight. And you're going to say that doesn't make any sense. It does, because if I just leave it this way, these numbers will flicker so fast that it makes it really hard to read. So I'm going to put a little bit of a weight on here of ½ a second. And after that wait of ½ a second, I want it to clear everything on the brain so that it basically writes over the top of what it already had. And so now I'm going to go ahead and download this to my brain and test it. To do that, I have to come to my brain, I have to connect it, continue. I always check the first option, wait for it here. I'm going to download it, and now I'm going to start it on my brain. And as you can see, it's now giving me my measurements on the brain. And it sort of is working. My encoder is, of course, at 0 because I just started the code. 165 and 230. But that's kind of hard to read. So on your code, you can also change the font. So I'm going to pull this set font, put it up above the forever, and I'm going to go with large. And after the name of the device, I'm going to put a space or 2 spaces, so it just makes it easier to read. Whoops. Yeah, okay, whatever. It decided it really wanted to put a period there, which I don't get, but that's okay. So now I can download it again and start it. And notice now my numbers are much easier to read because I chose a larger font. And when these turn, I can now get different values here for my numbers. There you go. So that's how you print your values on the top of your brain.